If you wanna see some dog, that is cool. Just watch out. Learn things that you didn't know. Just watch out. Will the game that we know and love. Just watch out. Rip on the way to play outside. Just watch out. This is the Swag Show.
Today we're going to talk about Raiden. No, not that one. No, not that one either. No, not that one. Look, guys, we're talking about this one. More specifically, Raiden 3 on the PS2. But before we get started in my review of it, let's get a little history on the Raiden series. Raiden is a top-view shooter that hit arcades in 1990 and actually became fairly popular. You play as a ship that goes around and basically tries to blow up everything it can. The reasons behind it are pretty vague, but then again, they rarely had stories for shooters back in the day. Like most shoot-'em-ups, you get power-ups. You can either power up your normal weapon to shoot multiple directions, or you can grab a laser. You can also get a secondary weapon, which are missiles that will shoot either straight forward, or they will home, but they have less power. Raiden quickly became notorious for its challenge, which lied in the number of enemies you would see on the screen, and its boss battles. Several ports of the game made its way to both the PC and the Sega Genesis, but I think my favorite version is probably on the Super Nintendo, called Raiden Trad. While the first Raiden game was moderately successful, it was Raiden 2 that put the series on the map and made it a staple in every arcade in America in the 90s. Raiden 2 built on the formula that made its predecessor successful and pushed it even further. One of the first noticeable differences is that you now had a third choice of a main weapon to use, which came in the form of this purple energy beam that would lock onto your enemies. The audio quality for the game was also noticeably stepped up a notch, as well as they gave you a second choice for bombs that you could use. Raiden 2 also made its way into the home consoles, but was renamed the Raiden Project. It's a really good translation, but it's kind of a rare game. Check it out on eBay if you want, but it's pretty expensive. Raiden DX would soon follow, and essentially consisted of Raiden 2, but also had separate missions that were called DX, and a training mission. I actually loved Raiden DX so much, I went out and bought the arcade machine. Yep, I had this specific arcade machine in my garage for several years. Unfortunately, there came a time where I just didn't have the room for it, and I needed some money, so I had to sell it. But it's a sore spot, so I'm not going to talk about that. What actually is kind of funny is that the Raiden series didn't see number 3 for a while. It almost kind of mirrored the Street Fighter series, where we didn't see Street Fighter 3 for many years, but just saw many spin-offs of number 2. Viper Phase 1 was the first spin-off of the Raiden series. While this was pretty much a one-shot deal, it actually morphed into the Raiden Fighters series. Raiden Fighters went on to spawn a couple sequels of its own, but despite being fun, seemed to lack the challenge of Raiden 1 and 2. It would be 12 long years before our prayers were finally answered, and the true sequel to Raiden 2 would finally be unleashed onto the masses. Was it worth the wait? Well, we're about to find out. Upon starting this game, there's several things I noticed right away. First is that you start with a 3-way shot, which would have taken you 2 power-ups to get in either Raiden 1 or 2. Second thing I notice is that the landscape may not be fixed, but you certainly can't scroll from side to side anymore. It has kind of some cool scrolling animations in the background, but it's almost too distracting. Okay, so I get the missiles power up, and that looks like it's pretty much about the same. But you know what? I just can't get past that I can't scroll from side to side anymore. I just don't have that freedom that I felt that I had in the game when I played Raiden 1 and 2. Now I feel like the game is just way too confined. Alright, let's go ahead and switch over to the laser, which is usually a good idea to do for boss fights. Kind of like how the laser looks there. And dropping the bomb, I actually like the bomb animation as well. Looks like the first level boss mimics that of Raiden 1 and 2, where you have to fight 2 machines that are essentially exactly the same. One of the things that really pisses me off about this game is that they replaced the purple laser in Raiden 2 with this green laser. The big difference is that the purple one would lock on to the big enemies, and this one just kind of goes side to side. It's fine for killing the small ones, but the purple one is so much better for killing the larger enemies. Even the properties for the bombs have changed. When you drop it in this one, it essentially destroys everything on the screen, while in 1 and 2 it would only destroy a specific area. This might not sound like such a big deal, but I feel that this changes the challenge aspect of the game dramatically. One of the great things that I didn't yet mention about Raiden 1 and 2 was that it has great music. The music in this is okay, but it's just not memorable. I'll tell you what, let's do some comparison. First, I want you to check out the music for the first level from the first Raiden. Pretty badass, huh? Now check out the soundtrack to Raiden 2 in the first level. See, this is also a tune that could stick in your head. Now let's check out the one from Raiden 3. I mean, I give him an A for effort, but I don't know, the song just isn't the same to me. I don't know, you guys tell me. Do you agree with this? Now, some of you might think that I'm being too harsh on this game, and some might even argue that I'm being too nostalgic. But I disagree, because the nostalgic crowd is exactly who they're trying to appeal to this game. This is not for, gamers that are just getting into it. This is going to be too hard for, little kids. This is for people who have enjoyed this kind of series in the past. So, am I being too nostalgic? No. I think that they changed way too many things in this game for my taste. I think the big question you need to ask yourself when playing any shoot 'em up is this game fun? And yeah, Raiden 3 is fun, but only for about 20 minutes. Remember how I told you before they used to own a Raiden DX machine? I could literally play that thing for hours and not get bored. For some reason, the replay value in this game just isn't the same. I also have a really hard time even recommending this to anybody, because Raiden fans are going to be disappointed because so many things are changed, and it's probably going to be too hard for too many of the new gamers these days. I guess the only people that I could really recommend this to would be people who enjoy shooters but haven't yet played Raiden 1 or 2. Although that's a very small crowd, because in the shoot 'em up category, Raiden 1 and 2 are staples. Fear not, Raiden fans, because Raiden 4 is now out there in arcades somewhere, just not near me because I haven't seen it anywhere. But I've seen some really awesome gameplay footage of it on YouTube, and it looks like a true return to form. Maybe the Raiden fans could follow suit of those of Devil May Cry and just pretend like one of the games in the series doesn't exist.